Hello and welcome Inkscapians. This is Sujit with the second part of our previous video wherein I have demonstrated two methods to rotate objects around its center rotation point, and they were manual and transform. Now transform tool was really good, however we still had to duplicate objects individually, and yes, that's just a lot of work. So here we are going to see much better tool than transform that will do most of the heavy lifting for us, and we are going to use the same shapes as we used in our previous video to demonstrate you the rotation. Okay, so we are going to rotate this object around this circle. So we click on this circle, this shape, and then click once again to get this crosshair, which we're going to snap to the midpoint of this circle, and then go to edit, clone, create tile clone. That will open this dock on the right side panel. And before we start doing anything in here, it's a good practice to click on this reset. That will bring down all the values to 0 except this exponent, which is supposed to be 1 even at the default setting. So starting with symmetry, we'll keep this as P1 simple translation. Now if you click here on this box, that will expand and it will give you a lot of other options. We will just go with simple translation and we will move to shift. Here we are just going to check this box that says exclude tile, and now we're going to skip the scale and moving to rotation. Now in this field we are going to do some math, the same math which we did in our previous video when we used transform tool. So say in this video we are going to rotate 12 number of copies around its center rotation point. All we have to do is divide that number by 360 and then hit enter, and 30-degree angle which is going to be distributed equally between the two objects. And here we will type the number of objects, which was 12, and here we will type 1. See what happens when I click on create. Boom. Well, you will see all the clones move to 30-degree angle, from its center rotation point, and it also created that number of copies. So this is how you rotate objects around its center rotation point by using create tile clones. Now you cannot change the color of these clones because they are clones. See, it won't allow you to change the color. But what if you want to make it individual shape and want to change the color? Well, there are ways. All you have to do is just select all the shapes and then go to path, object to path. Now this will allow you to change the color of these shapes individually or separately. Okay, there is another way to do that. Just select all the clones and then go to edit, clone, unlink clone. So that will kind of break the relationship between the parent object and the child object, and that will make the clone an individual, a separate object, which you can again change the color. Now, another way is you just move this shape. So this was our original shape. When you create clones, the clones are always going to be on the top, and the parent object, the original shape, will always be at the bottom. So click on that bottom object, the parent object. And how do you differentiate between a clone and a parent object, because they both look the same? Well, there's this indication. If you look at this region, when you click on this shape, it says object has 12 tile clones, which means this is our original shape and all the other shapes are clones. So if you click one of these clone, it will say object has no tile clones, which itself means it's a clone. So that's how you differentiate a clone and a parent object. So click on the original shape and then just hit the delete button, and that will just break the relationship between the parent and the children. And now these child objects are individual shape, which means you can change the color as you want. So yes, that's how you create objects around center rotation point. Now let's move on to our fourth tool. So our fourth tool is going to be one of the path effect, which is my personal favorite, and I always save my favorite for the last. So let's just select all these shapes. I'll just deselect this too, hit delete, and align these two shapes vertically. Now we don't need this box anymore. Okay, now just select this shape. The shape that you want to run the path effect, make sure you always convert that into path. Okay, By selecting an object, go to path and then object to path. Once you do that, again go to path. Under path, click on the path effect. That will give you this dock. Click on this plus sign and that will open up this box and will give you a lot of path effects. The one that we are looking for is this rotate copies. Now the chances are that you may not see this icons preview thumbnail if you're using 0.92, the stable version, but this rotate copies path effect is still available in the older version. Okay, so click on this and that will give you these strange shapes. Don't worry, click on this edit path by node and now you will see all these nodes and these handles. The one that we are looking for, this handle, this one. Now let me just zoom this in. Do not confuse this handle with this, because this handle is the link between these two lines. Okay, so click on this handle and you can move around. This is going to work as your center rotation point, and you can actually snap this to the midpoint of this circle. In order for this snap to work, make sure you enable all the snapping tools here. Let me zoom this out. Now by default it will give you these 6 shapes, okay, and the space is the angle between each shapes is equally distributed. Of course you can always change the number of shapes you want by clicking on this plus sign and minus sign. In this example we're going to use 15. So yes, that's how you get 15 objects, and the angles between these objects are equally distributed. The good thing about the path effect is you get to see the changes in real time. Remember when we used, the clones, how we had to do all the math and put all the values, still we wouldn't know what we would be getting out of it until we hit that create button? Well, the path effect will just make our life easier. And not only that, you can also play around with this, this nodes, and you can get as creative as you want with this. See, when we try to change the node, how the other shapes follows the same shape as the original path. See, this is really cool. So yes, that is how you rotate objects around the center rotation point by using the path effect. Now if you click on the shapes, they are kind of just one shape, because the path effect is still running on here. To make all the shapes as separate or individual or independent shape, what you can do is go to path and then break apart. That will just break all the shapes individually, which you can change the color now as separate object. So yeah, that is all from this video. I hope you enjoy watching it, and I'm sure you must have learned something new. Well, if you did, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of this. Thank you for watching again.